Hello and welcome to Talking TSM, the Game House's talk show about TSM's LCS team. I'm Robert Haynes, the host and the guide for you all into the world of TSM. We got to jump right into it. This is the Thursday edition, by the way, the second time we're doing a Thursday edition the second week of doing two podcasts. People seem to like it. We're going to keep going with it. And I do think it allows me to dive a little deeper into things. And instead of, making episodes an hour and 15 minutes, they're normally about 45, 50 minutes, which I think is a lot better. And I personally enjoy. So, yeah, we got to hop right into it because in case you didn't know, TSM are playing let me make sure I have this correct. The fourth place team, the third place team, and the first place team. So everybody who is currently surrounding them. Yay. In case you didn't know, quick breakdown of the standings. Cloud9 sit atop at 10-2. TSM are alone in second because they hold the tiebreaker over the third place team, which they play this weekend, at 8-4. Hunter Thieves, 8-4. Dig at 7-5. Evil Geniuses at 7-5. Team Liquid at 7-5. Immortals at 5-7. FlyQuest at 4-8. And then CLG and Golden Guardians are both 2-10. So there's a lot on the line for TSM this weekend. That said, nine wins normally gets you to playoffs, even when there are only 6 teams. Winning one of their next 6 games is an absolute priority, obviously. More than that is preferred, but at least one of their next 6 games will get them into playoffs more than likely. I think they'll do better than that. I'd have to hope so. I think they'll get at least one win this weekend, but, we'll have to see. We will have to see. Either way, like I said, let's dive right into it. Dignitas on Friday at 6 p.m. Then they will have Hunter Thieves on Saturday at 5 p.m. These are all Eastern Standard Times. And then Sunday at 6 p.m. again. So it's going to be an interesting weekend and one that hopefully you all will enjoy. So topic number 1, as always, for these shows is going to be going into the 3 keys of the game against these teams, and then I'll dive a little bit more into the matchups overall. In case if you forgot, Dignitas handed TSM a loss 2 weeks ago, one that was pretty ugly, but I think TSM hopefully learned a lot from it. I think they showed that they needed to, work on separate styles of play. They can't just have one style, and that's important for us to remember going forward. So the first key of the game for me in going into this Dignitas game is that they should try to save TSM should try to save counterpick for Spica. And again, I want to reiterate, if they can. Now, obviously, it's going to depend on side selection, whether or not TSM get the final pick or not, whether or not Dardoch and Dignitas decide to just straight up take something early in the first rounds before second bans, all that kind of jazz. But Spica has one of the lower counter pick rates on the team. Lost is the only one who has less of one, and that's just because, to be honest, they normally like to first pick for Lost. And generally they like to pick jungle early as well, but this time I wouldn't. And the reason being, TSM got kind of blindsided by the Skarner. They didn't really have an answer to it, and they had already picked their jungler. It put Spica at a disadvantage right off the bat, and I would prefer that they wait, see what comes out, and then allow him to pick, because we all know that Dardoch is the catalyst for that team. Sure, he may not have all the kills. Sure, he still dies a lot, but he is the one who sets the momentum and the pace of the game for his team. And he's the one who allows for Soligo, for Fake God, for Asta to kind of get into their groove and has been key for their wins. But in their losses, teams have been, we'll say, more focused on not allowing him to have an impact. That's how we'll put it. Even in their loss, he still had a major impact, but he couldn't spread it to the rest of the team as much. I'm talking about the 100 Thieves game specifically, which was a banger for sure. But, well, I'll talk about it. It's in point 3. So, yeah, so point 1, save counter pick for Spica if they can. I think that would be very beneficial to them as TSM can really see what Dardoch is planning. We know he has a champion Ocean. Literally, it might be the true 7 Seas, but that's okay. We will, allow Spica to have that counter pick so that whatever Dardoch picks, we can try to nullify it. Now, again, they might just save it for him, but we'll see. The second one, and this one's pretty simple and one that I hope that they'll stop doing ever again, which is picking 2 champions with next to no CC. In their game against Dignitas, TSM, for some reason, decided that they were going to pick Samira and Corky as their carries alongside Spica. And they relied on Rel to be their only source of engage. And that's terrible, Dardoch would just go in with Skarner, take Rel out of the fight, and then TSM just had no way to do anything. Between Olaf, Samira, Corky, and Lulu, there just wasn't enough there to stop a Kalista, Gnar, Skarner, Azir, Alistar combo. This was probably the last truly terrible draft that TSM has had in a long time. I mean, I know it's been only 4 games since they last played Dignitas, but that was pretty bad. So, I don't really want to see the Corky ever again anyways, but I specifically don't want to see it with something like a Samira, a Kaisa, just something that just that is truly just 2 damage sources, and trying to pair it alongside an Olaf and a Rel and a Lulu, just thinking about that comp again makes me shake. Not a big fan of it. Let's get rid of that. They have to have at least 3 champions with strong CC. I don't care what position it comes from, but at least 3. It's just the name of the game. In League of Legends, it's really hard to play right now and probably forever from here on out without some good forms of engage, some solid CC at all levels. Playing all damage and trying to just tear through your opponents just normally isn't going to work, especially against a team that is, I can't believe I'm saying this, actually solid in Dignitas. Again, I just didn't expect them to be, but I'm super glad that they are. Because, again, it really helps the NA argument, which, import rule aside, which I'll talk about one day, by the way. If those of you who are wondering, if you guys actually, if you would like for me to talk about what's going on import rule-wise and my thoughts on it, let me know in the comments, on Discord, on Reddit. Yeah, and you can hit me up on Twitter too. So I would like to talk about it, but I haven't really been. It just hasn't fit as well into the shows, but I can dedicate a section of the Monday show to it if you guys are interested. So let me know. Last key of the game is better macro beats Dignitas. That's just straight up. When you look at their losses to 100 Thieves, sure, they were able to match in kills and kind of in towers too, but no inhibitors, no barons, no dragons. Bam, that's a loss. CLG, same thing. 3 to 9 in towers, no inhibitors, which obviously if you don't get towers, you can't get inhibitors, but the point remains, no barons, and yeah, they had dragon control, but when you've lost so many towers, dragon control normally is irrelevant unless if you're able to get the soul, which CLG was able to keep them from doing. So for TSM, I want to see them with better macro. I want to see them continue with their vision advantages that they seem to always have. Continue to focus on taking towers. This is one of the teams, one of the very few teams that I will allow them to sacrifice a dragon, maybe two, in order to get their laners out of their comfort zone. Champions to watch for this game, and one that you will see in every game. Tristana is very powerful in the meta right now. Don't really understand why she's not getting banned more. People are playing her. She's great for the macro. I would love to see TSM pull her out. I would love to see, because I'm sure Kai'Sa or Azir is going to get banned. And we saw the Lucian come out for Power of Evil, which shows maybe he's been working on his AD carries. Maybe. If not, then I am sure Lost can play Tristana. She's not an overly complicated champion to play. I think she's super strong. Would love to see her played. Skarner, I think, is going to be something that is potentially relevant. TSM have already pulled it out twice. Dardark has also pulled it out. Obviously, it's the thing that beat us last time, but that's not what's most important for me. It's more about TSM potentially wanting it, and if they're going to play that new style that they've been trying to show off with the Huni carry. Obviously, he'll need to show some other things, but, I'd love to see, like, him pull out a Rise, maybe. You could, like, do Tristana in the mid lane, have him on the Rise, do double 80 carries, and still allow Spica to not have to play an AP because, well, Rise can, play that pretty sufficiently, to say the least. So, and we know that Huni has a solid Rise, or even a Rumble. I'd be fine with either. So, which is, can't believe I'm saying this considering I've been such an advocate for his high CC tanky champions, but the boy looks reborn. He looks solid. I'm sure I'm going to regret saying that. Not because I don't trust Huni, it's just the jinx. Big superstition guy over here. Baseball coach, player, got to make sure I wear the same socks. If we're on a winning streak, make sure that I'm wearing my hat the right way. Not that intense, but socks is one that I did a lot. I would wash it, don't worry, but yeah. And then the last champion to watch for is Rel. I think Rel is still very strong in the current meta, and I know that TSM played her last time. Without the Skarner, I don't think that she's in as bad of a position, but she also just can't be the only source of engage / tank for the team. And so, as long as TSM do a better job of picking around her, I think that she would be great for them. And obviously Aframu can use her too. So overall, Dignitas is on a 2-game losing streak. They lost to 100 Thieves, and then they dropped a surprising game to CLG, who's looking better, but, they're going to need a true miracle run to make it. So, yeah, I would say I'm going to pick TSM to win this one. I think that it's going to be maybe a little closer than we would like, but I think that if they can, save the counter pick, don't make that giraffe mistake of picking no CC and use the macro that they are very much better at than Dignitas. And most of the teams that have beaten Dignitas have used out macroed them. And that allows them not to skirmish as much because they're pushed into their base. Then I think that that's great for TSM. Moving on. 100 Thieves, 3 keys of the game. I think the first one is to slow down FBI scaling as much as you can. And that's focused ganking, picking a winning lane in draft. There's a lot of different things that TSM can do to make sure that this is the case. And when FBI is not allowed to scale, is not allowed to get early leads, if they can just put a wet blanket over him and just kind of neutralize him, kind of just keep him there but not really doing anything, that's great. Because here's the thing, they're probably not going to pick Senna Tahm Kench again. And I know that he is good on Senna. But with the way that TSM played, they were highly aggressive. They didn't really allow him to scale, because they ended the game too fast, and they were just, they were constantly taking down towers, which is, again, I think that's just who TSM are. They win the vision game most of the time, and they use that advantage to move around the map. And so, yeah, I think that they should do that. I think that if this ganking meta is truly the way that it's going right now, which we don't know for sure yet, we'll see this weekend, then if I'm TSM, get speak on something ganky, get something that, PoE can make, an appearance, or even Huni in the bot lane, and just destroy them. Just keep the pressure on FBI and Huhi. Don't over dive to make it happen, right? Like, make sure that there's a clean dive. Don't have the issue that they had this past weekend against Palafox, where they just couldn't kill him, and then they just got frustrated and started trying to push too hard to make it happen. But make it a focus. Second one, ban Twisted Fate and try to take Orianna early. Now, this is a bit of a twofer, but that's fine. It's all about not allowing Damonte to roam about and make plays around the map. Now, TSM normally bans TF anyways, because it's very clear that Power of Evil is not super comfortable on him. So I think that they'll do that. But I do think that it should be a priority in this game to take Orianna early. Damonte's played her really well. She has solid agency in team fights. He hits a lot of great ults, speeds his teams up. It's almost like a supporting type. I know how much damage she can do later in the game, but I don't know. It's a good pick for Damonte, and I think if you take away TF and Orianna, then you're kind of starting to push him onto champions he may not be as comfortable on. He could still take the Galio, which Galio is a champion to watch for, but we'll have to see. I think that the mid lane is important, and TSM last time put Damonte on champions that he's solid at, but not that he's going to be overwhelming on. And so I think that if TSM can do this, they will find success again, because Hunter Thieves are definitely a team that is vulnerable right now. The meta change was not great for them, and they're still trying to figure things out right now, which they have plenty of time to do before playoffs, but it is important to try to push them down now and have that 2-0 advantage over them and keep it, because, should TSM falter in, future games before the playoffs, again, if they're tied and they hold that tiebreaker over 100 Thieves, that's going to be really important for them. So this is an important game, and I think shutting down Damonte is going to be, shutting him down in the draft. Not like FBI, where they're going to shut him down in game, because you can't really ban FBI out. He'll find something to play. But, for Damonte, they can take him out of the game relatively easily, and put him on champions that he's not as proficient at, especially when compared to Power of Evil. The last thing is give Spica a champion with agency. And what I mean by that is allow him to roam around the map. Allow him to make plays. I don't want to see any farming champions. I know that we're heading into a ganking meta, and I know that there are still some farming champions out there, but I don't want to see it. I want to see him on something aggressive. I want to see him on something that can help get his laners ahead, that he can get around the map pretty easily, that he can make plays on. Something like the Hecarim, the Skarner. I don't know, I guess technically Nidalee would be fine. I don't know if she's still super meta or not, but either way, I want to see him be able to take advantages constantly. I don't want to just see him, farming his camps away, attempting a kind of gank. I want to see more from him in general, but also from the draft, which allows him to do more. So we'll see what happens. I think J4 could be another good champion. I've talked about it a few times. It works really well with Orianna if they decide to pick that. It's also a great champion to lock down FBI on, because there's a good chance that, FBI could get pushed onto something like an Aphelios. Obviously don't pick the J4 before you see him potentially take something like Ezreal or Tristana, but that could be a good champion for TSM. And especially, if they're trying to get the lanes advantages instead of Spica necessarily. So agency doesn't mean a lot of kills. It means a lot of assists and potentially even falling behind in farm and levels, but that's okay if the rest of the team is getting ahead. So we'll see how that goes. Champions to watch for, again, Tristana, just super in the meta, fits with FBI. It wouldn't surprise me to see DeMonte pull something out. He did it last year with, what's his name, Ziggs, where, he pressured towers a lot. Wouldn't surprise me. Overall, I think the mid lane is just going to be important for all champions to watch. And even the Galio fits in the mid lane, but I think more I could see who he pulling it out in support as well. So, I wouldn't mind seeing Sword Art take the Galio. They are, I believe, 3-0 on the Galio. Let me check. I'm almost certain, though, that Sword Art is currently 3-0 on the Galio this season. He is 3-0 and with one of his best KDAs, and his kill participation is by far and away his highest on that champion. Not by far and away, but definitely one of his highest. So would love to see the Galio pick again. I think it fits TSM style really well, and I think it could work for them against 100 Thieves. I am going to pick TSM to win against 100 Thieves. I think that they almost are like a solid counter to 100 Thieves now. The team last year that struggled against Golden Guardians was not they were a bit more aggressive. The macro wasn't as much of a focus. They liked team fighting and then trying to take macro off of that, whereas this team is seemingly more focused on we'll take the objectives over fighting you and then we'll fight you afterwards. So I actually think that they're a pretty solid counter to 100 Thieves, and I wouldn't be totally surprised to see them come out pretty handily on top again. But you never know. TSM could also have a draft canyon again and just look terrible. So we'll see. The last one is the C9 game on Sunday, and holy moly, that's going to be the game, because this is potentially an LCS finals preview. Now, TSM got stomped in game 1, but C9 are vulnerable. They can be beat, but it's going to be more focused on what TSM do than what C9 does, because C9, they only lose if they're, kind of messing around, or if they just don't take their opponents seriously. They're going to take TSM seriously. They always do. And I think that it's incumbent on TSM, if they want to win this game, or at least make it close, for them to focus on what they do well more than what their opponent does well. Because it's hard to try to beat C9 right now at their own game, right? It's hard to beat them in terms of trying to outpick and ban them, try to even just ban out certain things. They can play a lot of different things. They play very confidently, and they can play multiple styles already. They're a good team. They are a really good team. And Perks is finally starting to turn on. Now Fudge is still an issue for them, and they will throw him on tank duty. And so, this is, I guess, technically a fourth key to the game. Well, I guess there's 4. Yeah, we'll just do straight up that there are 4 keys to the game for this one. I think TSM could potentially pull out their new style where Huni is given a carry champion. And sure, if they pick Huni a carry champion, then there's the opportunity for Cloud9 to focus him. But I think that TSM planned for that. I think that they allow for the bot side to play weak, and I think that they allow for Lost. They give Lost a champion, like maybe even an Ezreal, honestly, where he is able to self-sustain and escape on his own. that's where then the efforts of everyone else can be put on making sure Huni gets ahead and becomes such a problem that Fudge can't do anything about it. And they allow themselves to play the 1-3-1 or the 4-1 style. I think that would be really smart of TSM. And I think if they can execute it a lot better than the way they did against FlyQuest, where again they were just pushing too hard for kills in the mid lane, then I think that they can win this game. That's gonna be an important one, because again we know Fudge is likely gonna be put on, Gragas or Scion or just something tanky because they're not overly confident in his abilities yet, and C9 has a lot of carry potential already throughout the rest of their roster. Blabber is still probably the only true carry jungler in the LCS currently. Again, I think Spica can be that, and I think Closer can pull it out occasionally. But yeah, no, I want to see them try that style potentially because this could be good. I think it could work against them if they've practiced it and if it's again better than the FlyQuest game. The other thing, key number 2 of 4, is don't give up early dragons against this team. This is not a team that you want to give that kind of advantage. They want you to come try to fight them on their terms, not on TSM's. And if you're too focused on having to try to take the Drake over just trying to fight them around it, there is a very distinct difference, because people have to remember, if a team is just like, hey, I don't care as much about giving up Drake. Now, we're not going to give it up for free, but if we can kill off a carry or two and you get the Drake, but we're still up 2 Drakes to 1, or even just you were able to tie it up, so be it, because you could take advantages elsewhere around the map while the other team is like, hey, we have to take this Drake. We have to focus our efforts on it. And I would like to see TSM get ahead early. Make sure that they have bot lane control. I know that this is a little counterintuitive to the Huni part, but I think that they can do that by allowing Huni to kind of do his thing. Allow for watch for the level 3 gank in the top lane when he's pushed up, and then once he kind of survives that, then head to Drake. Or if they do gank him early and he's able to take that pressure off because Blabber's up there, then I think TSM should rush to the Baron. I don't care if they are pushed in to the tower. It's not like Rift Herald where you're maybe going to get something out of it. With Dragon, there is an end goal to it, right? And it can supplement bad team fights or bad early games because its scaling is so strong normally in the late game. So I want to see them focus on dragons. And they've been giving up a lot of dragons, by the way. In my piece that will be coming out today, I specifically talk about this. Currently, TSM are down 32-26 in terms of dragons, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at their losses, it is a major reason. FlyQuest in game 1 lost 4 dragons to 1. C9 3 dragons to 1. Dignitas, they lose 3 dragons to 1. FlyQuest, they lose 4 dragons to 2. They gave up last weekend. They gave up Dragon Soul in all 3 games to TL, CLG, and FlyQuest. They lost last weekend 13 dragons to 5. That's bad. That's really bad, honestly. You can't allow that. And they're not going to get away with losing Ocean Souls and Mountain Souls and Cloud Souls. Luckily, none of them were Infernal. But giving those up, you're not going to win a lot of games. And it cost them big time in the FlyQuest game. It made the CLG game a little closer than it should have been. Or I should say definitely closer if I remember correctly. Yeah, definitely closer than it should have been. And TL was so far behind it didn't really matter. But still, you just don't want to give them that in. They almost came back into the game because of their dragon control. So I want to see TSM, specifically in the C9 game, don't let the Dragons be the reason that you lose. Get at least one. If you get a second one early out of the first three, like if they can come out 2 Dragons to 1 within the first 15 minutes or so, I think that TSM have a much better chance of winning. Key number 3 is if we are not able to get Olaf, then just ban it. Just ban it. Don't allow him to take a champion that he's not only super comfortable on in terms of Blabber, talking about Blabber, but one that's still very strong in the meta. Just don't allow it. If they're not going to first pick it for Spica, which he's been very solid on Olaf, I would like for him to be a little bit more involved in kills, but overall TSM seem to win games when he's on it, so I'm happy if they first pick it in this game. But if they don't have it as a first pick, then they just need to ban it. Just get rid of it. Don't deal with it. Make Blabber beat you on something, which he can, but make him beat you on something that's maybe a little less strong. And then the last one is just give either Lost or PoE their comfort pit. That means either Kaisa or Azir. Now, I know that they can both play other champions, and I know that PoE specifically has shown that he can play other champions. But giving either of them their comfort pick, I think, is going to help a lot in their matchups against pretty strong opponents, to say the least. And having them on those comfort picks normally allows for TSM to play better because the other 3, Huni, Sword Art, and Spica, they can all play more around their picks. And if they're able to get both Azir and Kaisa, then thumbs up, man. That's good. That's good for TSM. They play really well when both of those champions are in Lost or Power of Evil's hands. Now, I'm sure Cloud9 knows this. I doubt we get both of them. There's a possibility we get neither of them. And that will, again, be something that we will have to watch for with this game. We're just going forward in general. TSM have shown the ability to win without Kaisa or Azir, but not without both champions. Now, I want to make sure before I say that that I know for sure, but let me quickly check if they have won a game without either champion being on their squad. It's not looking like it. There is one. They won Golden Guardians with Syndra and Ezreal. And that's it. So of their 8 wins, Azir or Kaisa were on the team for 7 of them. And I want to make sure that this is right too, but I don't think that they've lost a game where they had both of them. Definitely didn't on that one. Yeah. They've also not lost a game where they've had both of them, which I think they've only had both of them in 4 games so far this year. But still, but the point remains, if you can get either of them, that's great. Which heads into our champions to watch. Again, Tristana is important. Perks has already shown an ability to play her. I would ban her personally. If TSM's not going to use her, I don't want to give Perks that opportunity to play a champion that he's clearly very comfortable on. We talked already about Olaf, and we talked about Azir. These are champions that we are going to have to watch for, and we'll have to find out in the draft if it's going to be an issue or not. I honestly, you know how big a homer I am for TSM, I do think they lose this C9 game. I think that they're just not there yet, because I think if they were really solid at this ability to play 2 styles instead of 1, and their ability to win without Azir or without Kaisa, more specifically Kaisa than Azir, but either one of them, then I would be more confident against a really strong opponent. But if they end the weekend at 2-1 after taking down 100 Thieves and Dignitas, that is great, because this weekend overall is extremely important for TSM. I don't think anybody would argue that. And truthfully, as long as they win one game, I'm not going to be overly disappointed. Right? As long as they can beat one of these three teams and they can head into their last weekend, where they play Immortals, Golden Guardians, and Evil Geniuses. A much easier weekend, as we discussed at the beginning of the split. I think that'd be really, that's fine. Like, guys, I know we want them to win, but we have to remember, this team is built for Worlds, right? Like, the goal is to succeed internationally. Now, you have to succeed domestically to succeed internationally, obviously. But if TSM are trying new things, like their loss to I keep saying Palafox because they really did lose to Palafox in the FlyQuest game. But if their losses to Dignitas and to FlyQuest are very important ones, because it showed the limit testing that TSM have. It showed, the Dignitas game showed what happens when they underestimate their opponents and they try to just play some ridiculous comp that's probably not going to work. Then their loss to FlyQuest was, hey, we beat CLG with this. What is a team that's definitely better than CLG, but maybe just only a little bit better than CLG? What does it look like when we play against them? TSM maybe forced a couple things too much. Well, definitely forced a couple things too much. And truthfully threw that game away on their own. But, that's okay, because it showed Huni can carry this team if given the opportunity. He is still capable of doing those things. So they learned from both of those losses. And now they are set up for this weekend to have taken the small failures, taken also the successes of beating TL twice, of taking down 100 Thieves, the weekend before, where, Evil Geniuses, 100 Thieves, and Dignitas, that was a tough weekend in its own, and they still went 2-1. So I really like where they are positioned, and truthfully, I don't think this will happen, but even if they were to go 0-3 this weekend, as long as they are prepping for the rest of the year, and specifically for the playoffs, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to like it, but I'm okay with it. I just, this weekend is so important, not just for their overall record, but it's a true grind. I mean, they are playing the only other three teams that are surrounding them in the standings. These are the three best teams currently outside of themselves. Now, you can make an argument for Evil Geniuses and Team Liquid. I get it. Whatever. But TSM have already lost to Dignitas. That is clearly the team that you could argue is worse than Evil Geniuses or Team Liquid. But they're still up there, right? And TSM's already lost to them, so they've got to try to win this game. And then 100 Thieves is hot on their tail. It is only the win over 100 Thieves that is separating these two teams for second and third place. And then, obviously, the C9 game has its own importance, to say the least. So I want to remind everybody, this is not just important because of we need TSM to win. It is also going to show us who they are as a team, what they can do, and what we should expect from them when we are going forward. Because, listen, week 6 is going to be, it should be a walk in the park. Now, I'm probably jinxing it, knocking on wood now, but you got to remember, like, those three teams are not somebody who TSM should be worried about. Evil Geniuses is the only one maybe you could worry about, but, they should stomp GG and Immortals. So they'll at least get to 10 wins, hopefully, at a minimum. And 10-8 is fine. That's a solid record, and it especially sets them up really well because, again, remember, these games matter towards their record in the summer, in which they will play, I will remind you as well, 27 games. 27, 3 times against each team. Triple round robin. Okay? So having a winning record is important. They have proven that they can do that. They have shown that they are at least a top 4 team, which is what we had hoped and expected. And now this weekend, they get to push themselves to the limit. If they go 3-0 this weekend, that I can finally say with about as much certainty as you can that this team might be ready for playoffs. But if they lose all 3, then it's like, okay, what are they going to learn from it? And how are they going to go out and should crush the 3 teams that they play the next weekend? And that's why this weekend is important. All right, I only have a couple minutes because I actually have a meeting here relatively soon. So I am going to quickly update you on the TSM Academy teams. So they were able to go out and they were able to beat Winthrop again, which pushed them into the top 4. They sadly lost to No Org, which put them in 4th. But most importantly, they made it to Proving Grounds, which is the final tournament for the summer, or for the spring split, of the best teams in academy, amateur, collegiate, you name it. Sure, they barely made it in, whatever. But they made it, and that's important. And now they have a chance to actually do some damage. Now, your son has also joined the team. So I don't know if Fizzy's gone or how that's going to work yet. I haven't really seen. But yeah, this is good for TSM Academy. Go out, support them. This is the new system. We need to see better NA talent come out, or just better talent in general that can come into NA, right? And we want to see, Sword perform specifically. Maybe your son too. I don't really know much about your son still. So, great for TSM Academy. Really proud of them for, still working their way into it. They, 3 academy teams just straight up didn't make it. Think about that. They just didn't even make it into this scouting grounds thing. So there's clearly plenty of talent in NA that's strong. and TSM barely made it in. And there are 6 spots that are automatically given to academy teams. So we're going to have to see what happens. TSM are the only ones who had to go through at least some gauntlet of some type and get in there. That maybe will give them a slight advantage because at least they played some games recently. But yeah, new academy system's pretty cool. I'm excited. So make sure you watch. And with that, if you like this show, please take a second to like, subscribe, and comment if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure to also hit that bell icon so you don't miss another episode. I do want to continue this to hopefully, I'm pretty sure it's still the #1 TSM podcast on all podcasting platforms. If you feel so inclined, please leave a review, especially if you're listening on Apple, and I would appreciate that greatly. Please share with your friends. You can find us on Twitter at TGHRobertHaynes or at TGH Esports. Please use the hashtag TalkingTSM when tweeting at us or sharing. Remember, question of the week was, what do you think TSM are going to do this weekend? 3-0, 2-1, 1-2, or 0-3? Let me know. Lastly, head to the Game House and head to our TSM page under the Esports League of Legends tabs to see all of the TSM content that we do. Been a little busy. I would like to do more TSM content, and I plan on it in the future. Right now, this is, I'm at least getting 1 or 2 articles out a week. I hope to get 3 or 4 out in the future. But yeah, just make sure you go look. And with that, thanks for tuning in. This show comes out every Monday and every Thursday and is exclusively for your TSM ear holes. I'm Robert Haynes, and this has been Talking TSM. See you on Monday.